Welcome to Get Real, How to Live a More Authentic Life, with psychologist and author of over 75 books, Dr. Barry Weinhold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get Real, How to Live a More Authentic Life with Dr. Barry Weinhold. My name is Ashley Ross. Dr. Weinhold, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling grateful as usual.
It's been a great end of the year and moving into the new year now, and I'm super excited to see the new subject we've got coming up. It's going to be lots of fun today.
Well, I've had a busy end of the year. Hosted a holiday party for 25 people, and then went out dancing on New Year's Eve and a little champagne and celebrated the coming of 2023.
That does sound like a lot of fun. Way more busy, I guess, than mine. Mine gets busy in a different kind of way, but
I don't mind being busy
great.
if it's fun.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. 25 is a lot of people for a dinner party.
I didn't have to cook for 25.
Oh, good.
I was just a host, and so I got away a little easy, and then even one of the people who came helped me clean up.
Oh, no, that's always helpful. I think that's the thing I appreciate the most when it comes to family gatherings.
I thanked her over and over and over again for helping clean up. She loaded the dishwasher and ran that, and whatever she couldn't get in the dishwasher, she stacked already washed on the side of the sink. And
nice. It's a big help when you have that kind of undertaking. The after effects can be not as much fun, but it's always better if somebody helps out.
But I just enjoy having that many people in my house and hearing all the just people are having fun around holidays and everything. It was just, and a lot of people brought holiday dishes and things, so it was very good. I cooked turkey meatballs with cranberry sauce on it.
Oh, that does sound good.
It was really delicious. It had other spices in it too, so it was.
That sounds really good. I've never had that before. That sounds really good, though. That's definitely something that I would like.
I got the recipe from my daughter.
Oh, nice. And that's even better. I love potlucks. I think that that's actually the best way to share a meal with anyone because you get the best of everying and you get
everybody brings
stories.
Yeah.
Everyone has a reason for the thing. And like you said, you got your recipe from your daughter. It just makes things really special. Yeah. That's wonderful. So what do we have to start off the new year?
Well, I'm going to kind of give you the big picture of what 2023 is going to look like on this podcast. In 2022, we spent a lot of focusing on helping individuals get real and looking at their belief systems and the individual belief systems that get in their way. Now, in 2023, I'll continue that, but I'm going to expand it to look at collective beliefs that prevent people from getting real. So it's going to be a little bit deeper and wider a focus. So I think in January, I'm going to cover, in the last episode I did, well, one of the last episodes I did in December, I introduced my top 20 badass, stupid psychological beliefs that people have that get them in trouble. And there you are. And looking at those, I mean, the first one I'm going to talk in January, I'll talk about the first three. I'm going to use the first episode here to kind of give you a context for what this whole year is going to look like. And then jump in the second episode, jump in number one on the top there. and show how that's not only an individual belief that gets us in trouble, but it's also a collective belief that gets us in trouble. So that's sort of where I'm looking at what I'm looking at in 2023, and um, also I want to look at. I've been really obsessed. Actually, it kept me awake one night. Just before I went to bed, I started thinking about this, and I couldn't let go of it. Was the question of why do people hate other people? Now, I've looked at that before, but I wanted to get a better grasp of the whole thing. And I didn't get to bed until 1:30 while I was on the computer kind of doodling about that one. And then the next morning I asked I have a group of people I meet with on Sunday mornings, and I've asked the group what their opinions were and got a lot of other ideas. So I want to share that with the group, with the audience. There'll be some in this episode and some in the next episode for sure. So that kind of is what I'm really looking at. I'm going to also introduce a lot of the content from my newest book, which will be out sometime in maybe by March. It's in the final stages right now, and it always takes longer than I think it's going to. But that's not, my hope is by March I'll have that book out. But I'm going to share excerpts from the book, and the title of the book is "What is Your PsyQ?" Your psychological intelligence. And my premise for writing the book is that people have woefully low psychological intelligence. And if they just had a little bit more understanding of how their psyche worked and why they have certain things happen to them and why they have the feelings they have and why they do what they do, they could make much better choices in life and live more happy and fulfilled lives. So I'm going to be sharing a lot from the book, excerpts from it from time to time during the rest of this year, actually. And then I don't know if you ever saw the video "What is Water?" Did you ever see that? So it was a commencement address done. I forget the guy who did it. You can find it up on YouTube.
I don't think I have.
And he talks about, he starts it with a metaphor. He talks about this older fish is swimming in the ocean, and two young fish swim by, and he says, how's the water today, guys? And they swim a little bit, and one asks the others, what is water? And it's to illustrate that most of us go through life living out of what he calls our natural default setting, in which we just have a set of beliefs, understandings, ideas, thoughts that that direct all our actions. And we don't, and it's like this because we don't see the world like this. We want to see the world like this, and so we just adopt those things that help us see the world like this, and it gets us in lots of trouble. So it's a little 20-minute thing. It's really he uses a lot of good examples in there about how people operate on that default setting in their lives and how much trouble it gets people in. So I want to talk about that. But I'll be talking about that more in episode 3 again. So anyway, I'm going to start with looking at what beliefs that we have that are not only individual but collective. And I've studied this for some time, and I've actually my whole career I've been studying this. What's wrong with our modern medical system and our modern mental health system? And so I'd like to talk a little bit about that because I think that it's really not even a healthcare system; it's a sickness care system, which is the first thing that's wrong with it. Is that you have to be sick in order to enter the system, which, for me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, because by the time you enter the system, whatever symptoms you have, they've gotten more acute and are more serious, and then it takes longer to get well again. So there's no prevention in that system, and so I'll be looking at at that a little bit more closely. I think we have to be able to look at these systems in a much more realistic way. We have to get real about them. Basically, what are they doing? What they should they be doing, and what they aren't doing. And so that's what I first criticism of the current healthcare system, which I now call a sickness care system. But more accurately, that's what it describes what they do. And so, in order to operate that system, they don't pay any attention to prevention. I mean, of all the dollars that are spent, the billions of dollars that are spent, and our healthcare system is the most expensive healthcare system in the world. Nobody has a healthcare system as expensive as ours. And I contend why it's so expensive is because it's a sickness care system, not a healthcare system. So if they paid more attention to prevention, did more research about prevention, and offered basically help for people to live more healthy lives so they wouldn't get sick. But see, the system operates out of, well, gee, if we have people coming who are sick, then we can always have a flow of money coming into the system, which is true. But who's paying for that? We are. And we're supporting a system that is highly ineffective in that regard, as far as I'm concerned. They could be doing enormous kind of good in the world for helping people to prevent uh, illness. Now, so what I've done personally is I use the alternative healthcare system for prevention because they do focus on prevention, and they've saved my life basically. Uh, I had cancer once, and I didn't ever have to go into the traditional medical system. I used alternative methods, and I cured myself of cancer. So I can speak with some degree of personal experience with this. So that's how I do. I use these alternative medical people. That I have a nutritionist, I have a chiropractor, I have all kinds of other people. I get massage every week. I basically I'm using the system that doesn't even register on the sickness care system. They don't care about that. And then, of course, as I said, the other thing I think is wrong about it, and it's broken, is that they use diagnosis too much. And somebody comes and they're sick and they don't know why, and they give them a diagnosis. Well, that's not too bad. But the fact is that they didn't know what was wrong with them, and now they have a name for it, and so it becomes part of their identity, their diagnosis. There's a group nationally called NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, and what they do is they offer support groups for people who have a mental illness diagnosis. So they have bipolar support groups and schizophrenia support groups, and whatever diagnosis you have, you can find a support group. Well, all that does is support you staying sick because you have to have the sickness, the diagnosis of the sickness, in order to join the group. They have no prevention or wellness groups. But that's that's the niche that they're providing, which is a support to the sickness system. And so it doesn't seem to me to make much sense. Um, and there's a big one in town here, and they're well funded, and there's one in every city in the country, a NAMI group. And so then also in looking at the mental health system, it's just as broken because it's based on the same model. You have to be sick before you get treated. And so if they're using the same mistake, I think, of how to treat mental illness. I mean, if we looked at how to prevent mental illness, there's lots of things we can do to help people live better lives and not have mental illnesses, so to speak. Although I sometimes question about whether a mental illness is really an illness or just something else, which I'll talk more about in one of the episodes this month. So anyway, they also in therapy there's an overuse of what I call is cognitive behavioral therapy. And so now it's gotten it actually they did good marketing on it. So it now is the number one system that's used to treat people in the current mental health system. And there's no focus on the cause of the problem. It's all the focus on the symptoms of the problem, which they sometimes are able to alleviate some of the symptoms, which is good. But if they don't deal with the cause, the symptoms are likely to come back again. And so I think it's more of a short-term version of what should happen. And basically, the other thing I've been focusing on is because we had a mass shooting in Colorado Springs, and I've been focusing on what's the psychology of mass shooters. And I went back and looked at James Holmes, who was the guy who shot up the theater in Aurora, Colorado, killed 18 people, I think. And if you look at his history, um, there was lots of opportunities for him to be spotted before he did what he did. But the system has holes in it. Since that time, they've closed a few of those holes. Like Colorado has a red flag law, and a lot of states do, which is that if a law enforcement person or a family member or somebody knows this person is scared of them, that they're saying and doing crazy things, they can be reported, and then an investigation takes place, a hearing takes place, and if they're found to not be responsible, then they are put on a list and they can't buy a gun. And actually, in the case here in Colorado Springs, unfortunately, the district attorney and the sheriff don't believe in enforcing the red flag law. And this guy had an incident with the police a year ago where he should have been flagged. He should have had a red flag on him, but they didn't. And then he shot up this LBGQT nightclub and killed 5 people and injured 17 or 18 others. And so it could have been prevented. So again, the focus has to be on prevention of these things, and we just don't do a good job of it. And so I'm really concerned that if we don't change this, it's not gonna be get any better, and it's going to become more and more expensive. Healthcare is probably one of the number one expenses for people, and somebody in my age range, older people, are experiencing more of sickness as you get older. Some of your systems break down, and so more of my dollar goes to healthcare than it ever did, and that's pretty common for people my age. And so as our population ages, we're going to see more of that more dollars are going to be spent in healthcare, and my complaint is that it's not spent well, and we need to really understand how to spend that money in a much better way than we do. And then, as far as how to spot people who hate and people who will kill, and I'll talk more about this in the next couple of episodes. They just don't have a good way of doing that. In fact, the psychiatrist that interviewed James Holmes 6 times, she had 6 sessions with him before he committed this crime, and she didn't spot anything unusual about him. In fact, he, in a kind of his own revenge against her and her ineffectiveness, like, I beat you. The day before he committed this crime at this theater, he sent her his diary and his journal, which explained exactly how he planned this over months. It wasn't just some spur of the moment thing. And during the time he was seeing her, he was planning this murder, this mass murder. And so he sent it to her so that she got it 2 days after the incident happened. And then she ended up writing a book about it too, which which ended up with a conclusion that, well, these people are too smart for us. We'll never be able to fully catch them before they do these mass shootings, which I thought for a psychiatrist was a kind of a lame understanding. And the way I understand what happens with these interviews when people are referred for like a 72-hour hold where they are acting in some crazy way. And actually, that's the same happened with the guy who shot up the parade on the 4th of July in Highland Park. He had 2 incidents where he should have been put on a 72-hour hold. And when that happens, then a psychiatrist interviews them and finds out whether they think they are dangerous to themselves or other people. And it's only one interview. But if you don't know the right questions to ask, you're not going to find out the right information. And I don't think they ask the right questions in those interviews. They're mostly concerned with the current symptoms they're displaying. They're not concerned about what caused those symptoms. So it's what's wrong with you rather than what happened to you to cause these symptoms. And that's the question that should be asked. I think if they ask that question, they'd have a better chance of finding out why. And so that's how I look at that whole broken sick care system and broken mental health care system. We need more prevention. We need more money spent on prevention and research on prevention. We need therapists trained to understand the causes of the symptoms that they're seeing in front of them. And if they don't have that, basically they can do Band-Aid therapy, and maybe it's people feel good. I mean, I'll talk about this next time, but the placebo effect happens. And so if somebody just pays attention to you, whether they do anything that's therapeutically helpful, people seem to get better. So I don't know how much of the effect of the current success rate is due to placebo effect, or whether it's actually some kind of form of treatment that's working. I think it's the former rather than the latter. Anyway, this is kind of a negative start to the season, but I just want to lay out what I think is that these collective beliefs are how they're affecting people and how they're affecting systems that we interact with. I'm going to talk about the education system. I'm going to talk about I'll talk about the workplace. I'm going to talk about the government. I'll talk about the church. And these social systems, these large systems, have beliefs in them that are nuts, that don't make any sense. And so I'm hopefully going to expose what they are and then talk about what they should be doing instead. And in this case, with the mental health system and the healthcare system, it's prevention and being able to ask the right questions and focus on the causes of illness rather than just the symptoms that show up. So I think I'll end right there and for this episode. And next time I want to dig into that first badass, crazy belief that we leave everything behind when we grow up. Anything that happened to us in childhood doesn't follow us anywhere, and talk about how that gets people in trouble.
I'm looking forward to that one. I definitely can attest to working through that one currently myself. So it'll be a great chat.
Yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit about that episode, about what you've done to work through that. Because I think that a lot of people grow up with that belief, and at some point they change it.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the one thing that set me off was.
Well, hold that for next episode.
Perfect. Until next time. Thank you so much, Dr. Weinhold. We'll see you then.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
For more information, please visit the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership at CICRCL.org or click the link in the show notes.